Hi guys, it's Alec here, and want to show you guys today how to build an audit trail, a quick audit trail. An audit trail is just something beautiful because if you're an auditor, you ultimately want to connect all your debit and credit legs per transaction at least, so that you can just see how ultimately that transaction was processed into your accounting system. Now, it was nice and easy back in the day when we did it on, by hand. Remember kasboeke en acht kolomme and algemene journale, KBE, KOE. Those were all the cool things that we did by hand back in school. But when you go over into a digital database, it becomes quite difficult to, just to see those transactions very quickly. And it goes and places it all over the show. And especially as we also go into a digital space, your transaction volume just exponentially increases, which makes it very difficult for you to manage it, that old style of T accounting, to really look into it and just say, where's my debit and my credit for this transaction? And when you select that transaction for review in your audit, it really is important to see all the legs to balance back to zero. Right, so this is a fun way to take that data set and to show you how easy you can actually get back to that basic principle of awesome T accounting, and then to do a strong audit on that transaction. Okay, so I'm going to jump into a demo data set here. This is WOW. In this database, this is my BI, by the way, and my BI app plugs automatically into any Pastel partner, Pastel Express or Sage 50 Cloud database. And it basically gives you full insight of that raw data transactions with BI functionality. We've added a lot of fields in there for you to use, which you'll see some of them now as I use this pivot. So this is a cool pivot and also audit trail kind of audit little tutorial. Okay, cool. So firstly, let's just see what we got under here. So we got in this database, we got 7,155 transactions in our GL. Okay. And then, so in the app, remember now the app is a one-click environment. And if you ever want to see more, you double click. Okay, so I'm going to go into the balance sheet, jump right into the, to everything. So everything sits in balance sheet, right? And where does everything sit? Ultimately in zero. Everything balances to zero, right? So I'm going to say, well, just show me everything under my zero. Double click on that zero there. And now it's processing and it's drilling into my transaction. So the speed of this thing is extraordinarily fast in comparison what you get when you export out of Pastel. I'll just show you something. Here's 7,000 lines of transactions that just exported. And the speed is like 100 times quicker than what you'll get when you try and export. Secondly, the benefit is also you get tons and tons of extra fields. You're actually getting 59 fields here, whilst you only get 8 when you come out of Pastel. But here's the benefit. Now we're going to build an audit trail. Something you also don't get in Pastel easily is connecting all legs. You try and do it by reference or by date, etc. I'm actually going to show you how we can do that. So firstly, you can't manipulate in-app. So I'm going to export into a separate environment, going back to my drill downs cover sheet. This is the actual list of drill downs we've done. We've done one, and it's date stamped it for us. You did it at 47 minutes past 2. On the 5th of August. So I'm going to export this, and here we go. So now for some nice cool pivoting. Okay, so let's first start. I'm going to insert a pivot table, right? And it's going to land here for me. And remember now, when you do pivots, what do you remember? You remember your field names. You need to be really in control of your field name, and you need to know what you want to achieve. What do you want to achieve? You want to achieve some nice T accounting transactional detail, but specifically audit trail, so that we can see every single transaction in its totality on all debit and credit legs. So firstly, I'm going to say, well, we know we want to see amount, so I'm going to type and search for amount. I'm going to throw that into my amounts column. I'm going to reword this. I'm going to just edit this into a currency or number field. I'm going to use that 1,000 separator. You know what, I'm just going to take away the cents. I know cents are important, they're very important, but I think for this purpose we can just take them away because it's a little bit overwhelming. Okay, now we're back to zero. What I'm going to throw in, here's a nice little field called debit credit. Isn't that cool? Because that's the T accounting principle. So now we've got 18 million of debits, and we've got 18 million of credits. Okay, cool. Now what we want to see is, well, we actually want to see something that looks a little bit like a general ledger. So let's first go and say, give me my trial balance account, TB account. That's a field that we've built. There we go. So here's all your TB account numbers. Now we're gonna say, you know what? Give me what I want is my trial balance. My account descriptions. There we go. Account descriptions. There we go. All right. So now it says, okay, here's my account descriptions that are actually within each of these account numbers. But if you go into your pivot table design here, you actually don't want them to kind of like build in this step format. So I'm going to go and say my report layout, use a tabular format, and then secondly, go back to design, subtotals, do not show subtotals. Now you'll see actually it's in more a table format, which is what I want. Okay, so now remember, now this is still trial balance level. What do you want to see? You want to see detail. So what is the next step? Okay, so the next step would be to show me, firstly, let's go and see there's something called transaction ID. Instead of reference, transaction ID is going to be better. So I'm going to put this right at the top. Now we can see something coming through here. Look at this now. This says, for instance, all right, I've got here transaction 1, okay, that I had debits and credits. And if I go and add this all up, look, it balances to 0. So look at transaction 1 here. That's transaction 1. Okay, it says I debited bank charges with 8 Rand. I debited directors meeting with 130 Rand. I debited reserves with 2,069 Rand. Credited Standard Bank and debited my suppliers control with 300,000. Right, and that is the leg. And all of them are now actually reflected here. Okay, well, we don't yet have description here because remember, this is account. This is the trial balance account number. So what about description? How about we throw that in and see how that looks? Check here now. Wow, that's now a little bit more. Did you know that under that bank transaction, bank charges that I just had, there are actually 3 lines of data. And if you now add this up, you'll actually see suddenly we've got 6,000 lines of data already. Now it's because some of them are rolled up. Okay, so you are actually building each transaction and you're building the whole trial balance as we go now, but we're building it on an audit trail basis. Okay, so let's say for instance we wanted to see, let's go back into the app and we want to see this transaction here. Okay, so let's say, well, we want to see what happened on PPE on this 15,000. Okay, now we're going to get a drill down of everything that happened here. Okay, so let's first see what happened. Okay, so let's for instance say we got this one. That is a invoice number 100277. But more important, I want to see how it was actually processed. There's 1, 2, 3. That's the transaction ID, but I want to see the transaction ID. That's the link ID 976. Okay, so let's go and actually look what it. We're going to see what it looked like. I'm going to go back to transaction ID quickly. And now here on this drop down, I'm actually going to find 976. And okay, check this now. That is the entire transaction. Check this, check this. The entire transaction was processed across these accounts. 2,000 was credited and debited 61, which is a demo gym. And you got all these debits coming through. And there's even descriptions over here. So we got each and every line of that debit and credit right here underneath our grip. And how quickly was that to take grip of that 7,000 lines of transactions? And we have quickly gone and actually found a way to build an audit trail by transaction. Okay, you can also actually go and search here. Let's say account, let's look at what 500 looks like. This, there we go. Here's a little one of the transactions that was on 500. Here's the debits and the credits and everything we processed here. So you got grip of that data from an audit trail perspective, which means that you don't have to go and sift and find everything. Imagine you had to find, I'll just show you what comes out of Pastel, for instance. So Pastel would throw you the reference. Now see how confusing reference actually is. I'm going to throw reference in here for us. There's reference. I'm going to say, let's just throw that just before description. But look here. If you look at this first one, just for instance, if I were to go and try and find this, look how I can't find it on reference because it's actually different. There are different references here. Z contrast, prepaid, dire meat, very different. You can't find it on, on a normal export. And on date as well, the date, I'm going to throw that in there for a moment. It's going to be a little bit confusing initially, but I'm going to show you how we're just going to fix that. It's going to give us, a few automated fields. I don't want all of that in. I don't want year in. I don't want quarter in. I'm just going to take that out. And then I'm going to throw in day. So day is one of the fields we actually also throw in. Now check what's interesting. Okay, so this happened. Oh, let me throw in year again. Yeah, you know what? I'll just throw in years. Because they are now a little bit confusing. Okay, so 2017, Feb 2017, on what day did this transaction happen? So let's just quickly drill on this number one. Here we go. Okay, so if you look at this transaction, you'll actually see it's very interesting that it's processed this way. We've got multiple days over here. We got multiple references over here. We got different descriptions, and it will be almost impossible to do it out of a standard pastel export just because of all of that. So it's very difficult for you as auditor to go and find this. You have to go and sift all over the place, and you're going to have to go to cash book audit trail, and then you go to GL, and then you go to the source, one source, double click, and know how to pivot. Okay, I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and you've enjoyed this little tutorial of how to pivot yourself for audit trail so that you can enhance your ability to audit. And remember now, I am literally sitting in the app. I didn't even have to go and have pastel licensing or anything. I was just able to get this grip of this data this quickly and share it to you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day. Thanks, guys. Cheers.